this here is a snippet that I wrote to kind of give Arthur a voice. I've also decided that the newspaper he initially works for is called Envoy. I feel that that has some thematic relevance to Arthur as a character, but also the game in general. Now, what I developed was rules for writing style. These rules were kind of a way for me to sort of serve as a touchstone for when it comes to writing the rest of these. I like to have a framework when it comes to writing a specific character voice. I have this as well for the dialogue and the other stuff for the other characters. But for Arthur's writing style, because it's more in your face and isn't something that's going to be narrated by a voice actor, it's more important that I get across that tone in writing specifically. So the tone I wanted to go for is almost like an Anthony Bourdain stylized simplicity to an extent. But also he loves to use ostentatious language, over-the-top vocabulary, which we kind of play with here, the snarky male enhancement part, calling someone a discarded sycophant, and then playing around with the idea of this visionary turned question mark. It answers, or it asks a lot of an audience to engage with the writing. And I do think Arthur's sort of pretentiousness that's underdeveloped at the moment in the game can really come across in his writing. I think in person he's a charming and well-mannered guy, but as we've seen with a lot of actors and journalists, he's far more intimidating to meet on paper. I want the full articles to be about 500 words. I do not want to write essays. I want to write something that can exist in the story and be read relatively easily. But as for snippets, which is what will pop up, 50 to 100 characters. Like, for example, this sentence alone. How many characters is this? That's 62 characters, this alone. So really short, right? Like, for example, this I think is even less. This is supposed to be a headline that Arthur has taped to the previous thing. 47 characters, 56 if you include spaces. So very quick, right? It's immediate, very easy to read. That's what I want. I also want to create assets that frame the newspapers in age. So all the old ones are going to be from early parts of Arthur's career. The middle ones will have a little bit of smudged ink, frayed ages. That's like his middle career later on. And then as we get closer, we might even get like ink dripping from the page because it's been freshly printed, right? I want Arthur's writing to initially have been cliche, which we do see a little bit of in this. It's a little bit cliche, a little bit snarky, but nothing that you wouldn't see in an opinion piece. But then I want him to be an incredibly opinionated, articulate, and antagonistic writer when it comes to some of the other pieces. So I'm right now conceptualizing a double piece, which is an older piece where Arthur wrote about Rosa Alvarez's up-and-coming doctor. It's a huge promo piece for the hospital. And then years later, boom, he hits the hospital with this horrible, scathing critique specifically about Rosa, this following or right before her quote-unquote suicide.